There is something being sold to IELTS candidates all over the internet, and I think it is incredibly misleading. There are Band 7 templates, Band 8 structures, Band 9 phrases, essays you can supposedly memorize and adapt to almost any question. Now, I'm a real IELTS examiner. I've marked thousands of IELTS essays, and I'm going to tell you why I think this is one of the biggest scams in IELTS preparation. Now, the promise is incredibly attractive. Just memorize this introduction, use these linking phrases, follow this 4-paragraph structure, put these advanced words into your essay, and somehow you'll get Band 7. But unfortunately, there's just one problem, and that's not what examiners are marking. When I read your essay, I'm not looking for the template that your teacher gave you. In fact, actually, if I see that in the first few sentences, I find it really annoying. But what I'm really looking for is whether you've answered the question. Have you developed your ideas? Is the essay coherent? Can you use vocabulary accurately and appropriately? Can you use grammar with enough range and control? A memorized template cannot do these things for you. I've seen this again and again, almost too many times to count. A candidate starts with a beautiful introduction, very sophisticated vocabulary, complicated grammar. Everything sounds extremely polished. Then I get to the body paragraphs, and suddenly the English changes. The vocabulary becomes much simpler, the grammar becomes less accurate, and sometimes the ideas don't really answer the question. That tells me something very quickly, that the introduction was much better than the writer. And this is why I think this kind of advice is dangerous. It gives candidates the illusion that they're improving their IELTS writing, when they're actually improving their ability to memorize IELTS writing. Now, that's not real written communication skill, so it doesn't improve your score, and it's not the same thing. Now, I want to make something really clear. I'm not saying that you shouldn't learn structure. Of course, you should. It's really important. Knowing how to organize an essay is useful. Having a clear introduction, body paragraphs, and a conclusion can absolutely help. The problem is when structure becomes a script. So, learn a structure, don't memorize whole sentences, paragraphs, or essays. Now, Band 7 writers don't need to hide behind memorized language. They can read a question they've never seen before, decide what they actually think, organize their ideas, and express those ideas clearly. Their vocabulary isn't necessarily spectacular, their grammar isn't perfect, but the writing is controlled, relevant, and consistent. And that's much more valuable than a paragraph called Band 9 phrases. So if you're preparing for IELTS writing, stop collecting essays. Stop collecting Band 9 sentences. Stop believing that somebody else's language can somehow become your score. Practice answering unfamiliar questions. Practice developing your own ideas, and use English that you can actually control. The biggest IELTS writing scam is the idea that you can memorize your way to a high band. You can't. Not possible. Because eventually the examiner has to assess your English, not your teacher. And if you want some more IELTS writing advice from someone who's actually marked thousands of IELTS essays, then subscribe to this channel and I will continue to give you lots of help for your next exam.